Why do you fail to do the thing you know matters most? If you're watching this video with 15 tabs open in your browser and guilt in your chest, this video is for you because I'll prove you that you don't have a focus, discipline, or motivation problem. You have a brain wiring problem. Because if your nervous system sees working on hard things as a threat, no system, habit, or productivity hack can save you. And this affects everyone. I've seen incredibly brilliant founders procrastinate on important tasks, waste hours on distractions, and avoid tasks that knew were important. Not because they were lazy, but because the survivor brain was in control. A survival brain that we all need to perform routine tasks in our day-to-day, but that doesn't care about a goal. It only cares about avoiding emotional risk, failure, and identity death. And right now, if you're procrastinating, it's actually winning. You have tried everything under the sun to fix it. I know. You've been hustling 24/7. You've used Pomodoro timers, even waking up at 4 a.m. and freeze yourself on cold showers and doing all that bullshit that doesn't last. The solution is to go deeper, is to rewire your brain at the root. So executing hard tasks no longer feels like a threat, but like a familiar path home. That's when you become the kind of founder that executes on instinct, not force. Imagine waking up, opening your laptop, and instantly knowing what matters and actually doing it without friction, without resistance. Just clean, focused execution on important things while everyone else is wasting time or is trapped in slack. This can happen in as little as 6 weeks once you train your brain to stop treating action as danger. How would I know? Because I've been helping hundreds of entrepreneurs doing exactly this, not through hustle or random productivity hacks, but through actual scientific mental rewiring. And in this video, I'll show you why discipline isn't something you force, what is the neuroscience behind mental friction, and how elite performers eliminate resistance before they act. If you're done hustling and you want to really execute like a weapon, this video will change how you think about productivity forever. Because let me guess, you wake up knowing exactly what to do, but somehow it just doesn't happen. You check your phone, you spiral, you avoid the challenging task. You call it thinking, but really it's fear dressed up as logic. You bet yourself for not being disciplining enough. You think it's a time problem, maybe a discipline problem, but it's not. It's your brain. It's just not ready to actually do the task because it evolved to keep you safe, content, alive, not to venture outside of your comfort zone, not to feel unsafe. It is in fact optimized for short-term safety, not long-term greatness. And until you rewire that, no system, hack, or tool or bullshit video will save you because the solution is not external, it is internal. You must rewire your response to work. The brain secret no one talks to you about is that discipline is not something you force. It's something that emerges automatically when your nervous system no longer associates execution with danger. You procrastinate, scroll, and avoid the task because the brain is actually doing its job, protecting you from emotional risk. That means that you're not weak. There's nothing wrong or broken. You're just misaligned. You've never trained your brain to execute without friction. Let me tell you about Tom, a client of ours. He has a marketing agency. Brilliant guy, great with clients. Everybody's happy with him, except himself, because he's been stuck at 40K a month for about 10 months. Once we run through our frameworks, we realized he was avoiding a critical task, calling his leads. Every time he sat down to make the calls, his nervous system will be hijacked. Suddenly he will need an email, or research competitors, or just tweak the CRM a little bit. Classic avoidance behavior. I've been there many times, and I've run myself through the protocol that I'm about to share with you to get myself to do what I didn't want to do. Exactly what we did with Tom. We didn't give him a better calling script or better time blocking techniques. No, we rewired his nervous system response to warm calling. And within 1 month, he had his first 6-figure month. It wasn't magic. It wasn't motivation. It was actually doing the task that needed to be done. That is how he got closer to his goal. What most people miss is that your brain categorizes everything you do as either safe or unsafe. And most of the tasks that grow your business, they are categorized as unsafe because they're hard to do. That is why you feel resistance. That is why you procrastinate. At a neurological level, you basically have two systems running your brain. One is the limbic system, the survival brain, which wants safety, certainty, and energy conservation. The prefrontal cortex wants growth, strategy, and performance. When those systems conflict, you feel friction that makes you stop. That resistance is what you call a lack of discipline, but it's just neurological drag, mental friction at the deepest level. And when this goes unresolved, you start avoiding the tasks that you know matter most. You have anxiety about your performance. You have fear of not achieving your goals. You have self-sabotage disguised as being strategic. Think about it like this. You're trying to run a high-performance software on outdated operating system. The software crashes, the system freezes and nothing quite works smoothly, and you blame yourself. But there's nothing to blame here. You're just trying to execute on an unwired nervous system. And this goes even deeper, because at a neurological level, your brain does not distinguish between physical danger and emotional danger. When you're about to make a sales call, the amygdala fires the same way it would if you were being chased by a predator. It's always fight, flight, or freeze. And usually you choose freeze, disguised as, I'll just do it later. And while most people will tell you that you can fix your discipline only with better system, that's like trying to get a scared dog to sprint by giving it a better leash. The problem is not the leash, the problem is the fear. Rewire the fear and the dog runs. And elite founders understand this at a visceral level. They don't rely on willpower because willpower is finite. They don't push through resistance because that leads to burnout. They eliminate resistance at the source. That is the source of their magic. And anyone can do this because your brain is neuroplastic. It can be rewired. The neural pathways that create friction, they can be replaced. The associations in your mind that create avoidance, they can be overwritten. The patterns that create procrastination can be optimized. You can learn to love the thing you right now are hating. And here's the 4-step rewiring protocol that can change the game for you. When dealing with a hard task, step 1 is activating the parasympathetic response, is activating the rest and digest response. The conscious way of influencing your conscious reaction is relaxing yourself, finding your center, calming your mind. You can do this through box breathing, deep breathing, physiological sigh, mental visualization. There's many methods. Step 2 is to reframe the task, to tie the task to the long-term vision, not short-term discomfort. Instead of, I hate to be making these calls, to, I get to build the future that I dare to design for myself. Step 3 is to start small and win quick. The brain learns through success, not struggle. So instead of making 50 calls, you make 3. You let your nervous system experience safety in execution. You build the neural pathway with small wins first. And finally, step 4, you gather objective feedback. You document your performance to cement in your mind that the task is safe. You tell yourself, I made 3 calls, nothing bad happened, got 1 positive response, booked 2 calls. And over time, you build a treasure trove of objective data that diffuses your emotional stories. Here's what happened to a client of us. Let's call her Sarah. She runs a 7-figure e-com business, doing about 2.5 million a year. But she was burning out. The problem is that she does not trust her teammates, and she was avoiding difficult conversation with them. They were underperforming, and she didn't want to give her their feedback because her nervous system would revolt. So she'd procrastinate, avoid, and do anything instead of actually providing feedback to the people that needed it. And she ended up just doing the work herself and firing her people. We solved this not by teaching her better communication skills or better hiring techniques. No, we rewired her association with difficult conversation. She learned to calm her nervous system before important conversation. She reframed feedback from conflict to service, and she started having easier conversations to build confidence. The result is that within 4 months, I think, she had a team for the long run that had more inbuilt trust, and everything had improved. Her mood, her performance, her team mood, her team performance, their business results. All because she rewired her nervous system around the critical task of providing feedback. Because when you master this, everything improves. You stop wasting mental energy on resistance. You stop procrastinating on high leverage tasks. You stop avoiding the conversations and decisions that will scale your business. You become the kind of founder who thinks and execute consistently and effortlessly without resistance. Everybody else is suffering and you're having the time of your life. And everything I just shared with you is the beginning, right? The parasympathetic activation, the reframing, the small wins, the feedback loops, those are foundational tools. But the real transformation happens when you actually understand what is blocking you, when you have exact clarity on what makes you different, when you stop using generic solutions for your specific wiring problems, because we all have our own cocktail of ambition, hope, fears, and trauma. For us, the first step is the one-on-one decoding session, which is not a sales pitch, it's actually diagnostics to truly understand what is keeping you stuck. Imagine what can be possible if resistance disappears. If you wake up, you know what to do, and you execute. You tackle difficult tasks without internal negotiation. You build momentum instead of battling friction, and you become the founder your vision requires you to be. That is very much possible if you work at the root. If you stop trying to patch your system with random hacks and videos and tools, and you actually go deep. So if you're done forcing it, and you really want to become the founder you know you can be and make execution feel as natural as breathing, book your decoding session. And if we can help you, we will let you. no. There's one last thing I want you to remember. It's that discipline is not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about rewarding yourself to love doing the things that matter. It's about making execution feel inevitable, not impossible. It's about becoming someone for whom resistance is rare, not constant. And that is the choice you have. Believing you have a discipline problem, or understand that this is solved at the level of your nervous system. Stop fighting it and start training it so you can truly become who you know you can become. See you in the next video.